Hi, it's Owen with Swordwind Historical Swordsmanship, and
Britney, also with Swordwind Historical Swordsmanship.
And today we're going to talk a little bit about angles and when to utilize them and how to utilize them. So first off to say, if we are way the heck out here, and that is to say we are not in range of each other and there's not a leaf on the sword, this is not the time for me to be cutting angles. It is also not the time for me to be cutting angles like way the heck back there. The reason is because if I do all this work to kind of like cut this angle and try and do this, she really doesn't have to do very much to kind of go along with me. Like, notice how she can track me extremely easily. Unless you're extremely fit and athletic, you really shouldn't be wasting your energy just cutting angles willy-nilly when you are out of range. Even when I'm here, and we are in a bind, and we are tip to tip, even now this may not necessarily be the correct time to cut the angle, because again, we run into the same problem of if I'm cutting an angle here and I'm not actually doing anything other than cutting that angle, she can not only follow me pretty easily with that, but she can also take advantage of the fact that I'm not doing anything and seize the initiative herself. However, Britney just demonstrated a great point, which is, when you come forward and you do something, that is the time in which to cut the angle, right? So now that I have come across here, our feet are in a position to where Britney is going to have to do a lot more work to come around and do something, and all I have to do is that, right? So we're in a really advantageous position for me, and a less advantageous position for Britney. And notice how where we're standing as well, I'm not even really cutting that extreme of an angle, right? Like my foot, my right foot, is just outside of Britney's right foot. And if I didn't have this big great wall behind me, as lovely as it is, I could cut an even bigger angle and have an even bigger advantage, right? Like so. And now Britney would have to do even more work. Not to say that she couldn't, she can still like step with me, right? And now we are back to where we began. But notice how I really, in that instance, had the advantage and most probably would have done whatever thing I wanted to do to her before that ever happens. So I think that's it for now. We're going to do some demonstrations of us actually doing that with masks and gloves on, so stay tuned. We're going to show you some instances of cutting angles, how they work, how they don't work, and how easily it can be to get hit in the face. So first of all, hopefully this microphone will pick up everything. First of all, like I was saying earlier, when the time to actually cut the angle, right? So first, I am coming over and I'm getting the kind of bind, the action that I want, and then I am making my angle even more advantageous by stepping offline and then redirecting my point to where it needs to go. And again, I really haven't cut that much of an angle, but just enough of one to make it more difficult for my opponent to really do something. And this is kind of a weird angle that we've created here, because I've kind of broken the rules a little bit. Like, here, we're in a position to where, theoretically, Britney should have the advantage, because her feet are kind of facing in between mine, right? But the fact that I've put the sword in the way and I've already got the point online changes that to where all I have to do is come in, and Britney has to do a lot more work, right? As opposed to just kind of like changing through or cutting around or something, because the sword is already right here and I have already hit her, right? Now, doing this the kind of more traditional sort of way and gaining the blade in such a way to where I have actually kind of like done things according to the rule, where I am again coming over and I've cut the same angle, and now my feet are faced in between Britney's. Now I have once again cut my angle and changed the kind of center line, and again all I have to do is come forward and do something, and Britney, even if she does want to like cut around and do some other thing, it's as easy as that, right? The same from the other way, and this is where the kind of lefty on righty dynamic comes into play. So again, we are here, and now I do this slightly differently by, once again, I'm kind of gaining the blade, and I take a passing step, and I also kind of traverse a little bit. And so now I am faced in such a way to where this is the angle that is like really good for me as like a lefty on righty thing. Because it's going to be much more difficult for Britney to actually do something just biomechanically along that same line. And I have her sword, I have got her dead to rights. And all I have to do is just kind of point my point over here and just go for it as needed, or I can cut. Like, I can do a lot of things from here. And again, Britney has to do a lot more work to even do something like even like remotely like advantageous for her. And even then, as she did that to try and just give like a little hand snipe, I really didn't have to do that much work to avoid it, right? Barely stepping out of the way. So keep these things in mind as you are kind of going through and trying these things at angles yourself. And remember, as always, consensual violence only.